Hey and welcome. This is Anna Bevan Gravely with NCFREE, and I am joined by Erin Pare. She's running in House District 37. Erin, thanks so much for joining us. Before we get started, is there anything you'd like to share with our community?
Sure, thanks. Anna, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and all of your listeners about these important issues facing North Carolina. So I really appreciate you taking the time to provide this forum for us to do that. So thanks so much.
Awesome. So we'll dive right in. Have you ever owned a business or been in a management position within a business?
Well, yes, I am a small business owner. Wayne and I are a husband and wife team, and we own and operate a small business in the district here in District 37. It's a retail sporting goods store, and we are definitely a small business. We have 10 wonderful employees, and we have a great time. We've been open for about 2.5 years, and it's been a joy to see the business grow and become more and more part of the community. It's a lot of work, but we really enjoy it, and we're really happy about it. Also, to mention if this counts, but I'm the founder and director of a nonprofit, a 501c3, that serving community youth and music arts. So it's called the Holly Strings Youth Orchestra, and it's a great organization. I'm so proud of it. I'm a violinist, and
Oh, wow.
I've been teaching violin to kids and adults for many years. And when we relocated after 12 years as a military family, we've traveled all around the country. We decided to set up roots in North Carolina. And after teaching, I realized when my kids were in school that there was no youth orchestra in the public school system here in Southern Wake County. So that was just a bummer to me, because that was an opportunity that the kids didn't have that I could help provide. So I put together a board of directors, and we organized this nonprofit, and it's been great. We partner with the town of Holly Springs, and the mission is to provide a affordable and free, in some cases, in cases of inability to pay, opportunity for kids to learn a string instrument, violin, viola, cello, or bass, and then perform as an ensemble with each other. And it's a great group, and the kids have a lot of fun, and it has been a joy for all of us.
Awesome.
So I'm the director of the program and the founder of the program. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. My dad plays the cello. I tried to play the violin. He very lovingly told me that I should probably stop because I was not very good. It was a rough season, really rough season in the house. Yeah.
Well, I've always wanted to take up the cello. It's a beautiful instrument, and strings are some of the hardest, I think, instruments to learn how to play. So congrats to you for taking that one.
Thank you. That makes me feel a little bit better about having to put down the violin. Yeah, thanks. So second question, would you say that the current level of federal and state taxation on businesses is too high, too low, or just about right?
Well, as you know, North Carolina has a very competitive corporate income tax rate at 2.5%. So that's among the best, if not the best, in the nation for those states that have a corporate income tax. But so I think we've done a really good job about bringing that rate down over the last several years. So it's really important for North Carolina to be competitive and attracting and retaining businesses. You know, low taxes and a good business regulatory environment is what we need to foster innovation and a job creating atmosphere. So I think we're doing well. I think maybe we have the opportunity to do a little bit better, but I think we're in a really good place for businesses to relocate, set up an operation here in our state, and be competitive and successful.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Do you feel it is appropriate for state or local governments to offer incentives to private businesses in consideration of locating, expanding, or conducting business in a specific part of the state?
Right. Well, I don't like the idea of government picking winners and losers and favorites. I think if we want to offer incentives, we should just do it across the board. You know, everybody should have an even playing field. So if we are going to lower taxes, we need to do it across the board. If we want to improve the regulatory climate, we need to do it across the board. So, you know, I think North Carolina really needs to maintain that competitive advantage, and and low tax rates attract business, but I think it needs to be done fairly. And I don't think it's very fair for maybe a company that has been operating in North Carolina or a particular area for years and years, contributing to the local economy, and in many cases, helping to improve the quality of life for those people in that area, to see incentives be going to a newcomer that they themselves can't take advantage of. So I think overall, it's really incumbent on government to operate with the highest level of integrity and fairness. And you know, this issue, and I've heard a lot about it, especially on the campaign trail, but I think that this is a good argument for a zero corporate income tax. So I think low taxes are really where we need to be, but a zero income tax, when you're talking about this issue, it really sets up a level playing field where there isn't really the opportunity for a winner or a loser scenario.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So describe your personal opinion as to what you think the key principles of free enterprise in our economic system are.
A free enterprise, to me, is the freedom to invest in an idea, to work hard to achieve your dream, to dream, the right to dream and achieve that dream. You know, to just like what we did. We left military life after many, many years, and we wanted to set down roots and become part of a community, and we thought the best way to do that was to become the owners of a small business. So we put all our money together that we had been saving for so many years, and we made that big investment to open up a business that would be our family business, and we picked the one that we thought was best for the community and best for us. And you know, especially from the small business perspective, every tax and every regulation, every dollar and every cent makes a difference, especially when you're starting out. And I think just that freedom to be an entrepreneur, the right to make a profit, the right to try and maybe fail, and then the right to try again is very important. The protection of individual liberty, the protection of private property, and the right to pursue happiness and achieve it, I think are what comes to mind for me. And I think what makes this country great is that you have the power to make choices, whether it's a business owner, whether I'm a consumer, I have those rights, that right to make those choices, and I have the right to compete. So, you know, in the General Assembly, I think it is my job, if elected, to defend individual liberty and work to conduct the business of the state on those principles of limited constitutional government.
Awesome, thanks. And so this next question is actually super timely. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. I feel like we've been in the middle for a really long time, kind of like how March never really ended. And so we're seeing an interesting collaboration or trade-off between executive and state level powers. And so in your opinion, what is the appropriate balance in the scope of federal and state regulatory requirements on business? And what, in your opinion, is the best way to balance the appropriate protections without impugning economic vitality?
Right. Well, I really appreciate this question. I think this is a great question. And before we were a military family, I worked in Washington, D.C. for about 7 years. And this is what I did. I directed a coalition called the Regulatory Improvement Council. And we would advocate for reasonable regulation, common sense regulation, and government accountability. So I like this question because it's a difficult one to answer in a way, because there is a balance there, right? So the role of government is protecting the public and working for the public good. But the reality is, when a government puts in place a regulation, it is often meant to solve a problem or prevent a problem from happening. But there is a cost to that. Regulations, more and more regulations, do harm economic growth. So I think government regulation on business needs to be minimal, and it needs to be necessary. And oftentimes, you know, we see really great intentions to solve problems or prevent problems from happening, but what we end up with often is overburdensome regulations on business.
Mhm.
And that can have second and third order effects, which can lead to inefficiency unnecessarily and higher costs.
Mhm.
So when I think about regulatory reform and improving regulatory decision-making in government, whether we're talking about the state level or the federal level, I think of three important principles. And those principles are sound science. We need to use sound science, up-to-date sound science, when we look at making rules and putting regulations in place on business. We need a cost-benefit analysis. We need to think about, well, is the benefit of this worth the cost, or is it equal to the cost, or is it not worth the cost? And we also need transparency, I think, every. Government regulation needs to be minimal. It needs to be necessary, but there's a role of government in providing public protection, but it shouldn't interfere with innovation, so it doesn't become overburdensome. You know, when I think of regulation, I think about running in a race. I'm running in a race among all these other competitors, and I'm trying to reach that finish line, right? And I'm working as hard as I can, I'm running as fast as I can, and I want to reach my goal. Mm-hmm. But you know, regulation to me is when the government just shoves all these big, heavy rocks in your backpack as you're running, right? And it really prevents you from getting to that point, to the finish line, to your goal as fast as you want, or at all. So you know, that is a delicate balance. But I think we need to keep that in mind as lawmakers and as leaders, that we need to be very responsible about that and strike the correct balance using those three principles I talked about.
Yeah, awesome. Really interesting visual there with the running the race and the rocks in the backpack. I feel like I was there. Felt like the rocks were really heavy on my back. Okay, so if elected, what are your top priorities as it pertains to business?
My top priorities are, well, I would say economic growth, just along the lines of everything that we just talked about, those free market principles of low taxes, a healthy business, a regulatory environment in North Carolina, and making sure that that continues and takes place. So we have, you know, we are encouraging here in North Carolina innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity, investment, risk-taking, the opportunity to earn a living, to earn a profit. This is what results in better productivity and higher wages and better overall outcomes. So I think we really need to keep that as a priority, and that would be my priority. Another priority of mine, and these aren't in any rank order though, but you know, I think education is so crucially important. And you know, I just wrapping up 2 years of serving as the PTA president for my kids' elementary school, and 3 years on the board. And since I work so much with kids, you know, I've seen firsthand how no child is the same, right? They're not cookie cutters of each other. They have ideas, they have goals and dreams, and they sometimes need a different path than another child. So I think school choice and educational freedom is really a key part to making sure that we maintain and get better at education in North Carolina. And that's strong schools, that's strong public schools. And that's, like I said, career training, educational freedom and options, the expansion of school choice, I think is really important. We need a skilled workforce that's ready to serve our businesses and become part of the economy in North Carolina one at a time, and we need that preparation ahead of time. So I think a strong education system in North Carolina is paramount, and I think that takes, you know, we need to be creative about how we think about that, and especially with the meeting the needs and reaching the potential of every child to the best we can. And that includes, you know, allowing parents to make the best decision that they feel their child needs as far as education goes. You know, with the orchestra, I've seen some kids who just not struggle, but didn't really find their place. But since they have that opportunity to learn a different skill in music arts, they really glob onto that. And that's, you know, they practice all the time and they get really good at that. and that's going to become part of their life, down the line. And I think we need to have that mindset when it comes to education, about not just supporting one type of education, but be really creative about expanding options for families so we can improve education as a whole. Of course, that includes public education, so we can have better outcomes for children, which in turn benefits our state down the line. But I think, I think that the healthcare is very important. I know we talk a lot about the cost of healthcare, the high cost of healthcare, and I think we need to apply those free market principles that we were talking about today, as far as reining in government mandates and trying to lower the cost of healthcare. So North Carolina has a better quality of life. I mean, that contributes to the quality of life, and we can do that through those free market principles that we talked about today. Repealing certificate of need laws, the passage of association health plans that's a good step forward, scope of practice reform. Those are all sort of free market things that we can do to reduce the cost of health care and make the quality of life here in North Carolina better for folks. And if I do have one more minute, I'd like to make, and this isn't a legislative task that can be done at the state level perhaps, but if elected, I hope to encourage folks to contribute to a quality of life, which does make a difference in North Carolina, by serving the community in a volunteer role. And I think that's very important because everyone has something to contribute. And I think that we think as far as laws and what government can do, but I think the power of the individual is so important, because people can really improve the lives of their neighbors and of their community by just volunteering their time. Join a town board, join a nonprofit, sit on the board of a nonprofit, a community organization that helps kids, or read to kids at your school, or stand outside of a difficult crosswalk for kids in the afternoon and help them across, because all those things go together in creating a better quality of life for your community and the state. And I think we have great people who are already doing that. But I think that's a really positive part of improving life here in North Carolina, with strength in our business climate.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Erin, where can we find out more about you and other things that you want to share with the community?
I do have a website. So my website is erinfornc.com. So it's ERINFORNC.com. So that's spelled out. I have a Facebook page, and that is Erin Pare for NC. So you can look it up with the @ at Erin Pare for NC. And I am on Twitter, somewhat, and I'm not actually sure what my Twitter handle is. I think it's Erin for NC is what my Twitter handle is. But so I do put updates on there, some information about the campaign and some public policy initiatives that are happening, some resources for the public that I think are useful. So please, and let me give you my phone number. I like to be accessible and to answer some questions. So my phone number is, on my cell phone, is 919-906-4462. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody who would like to chat.
Awesome. Very reachable.
Yes, very reachable.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day, and good luck out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Anna. It was nice talking to you today.
You too.